Alright guys, now for my last video for y'all. I know you're probably getting tired of listening to me talk. I'm going to walk you through my 3 journal articles that I identified. I was looking for articles that would really kind of inform my statistical approach and the methodology as we were creating it. So what I did is I really focused on articles that did stuff like that, where there was some good statistics, and also articles that looked at the kind of cognitive reasoning behind people's decisions. I have several that analyze the behavioral patterns of people and how behavior could be used to predict diet and food choices. So the first thing I looked at was an article titled, "Is Motivation Necessary for Maintaining Dietary Health?" And what this did, this was actually kind of a meta-analysis, a review type article, and it looked at a lot of different articles, which I thought was useful because a lot of them pertained to what we're talking about today, and then this study that we're trying to implement. So this first article, "Is Motivation Necessary for Dietary Health?" looked at the degree of motivation in people and how that affects people's health. And another thing I think also relevant to our study that was looked at in this study is the effect of knowledge of good nutrition and how that impacts people's decision choices, which I think is also relevant, especially with our education component, our nutritional assessment component. So that was a key part of what this article found affects dietary health. But another thing this article also found that affects dietary health is level of motivation. So these are 2 things that it looked at, and I thought it was good for our article, and I included it in the literature review for that reason. The next article I looked at is an article that it was kind of entertaining, kind of good to read, and it's called "Predicting Intentions to Eat a Healthful Diet," and they actually did this amongst a population of college baseball players. And what they did is they applied the theory of planned behavior, and we know the components of the theory of planned behavior, and they looked at, well, how is this going to, how are the baseball players' intrapersonal characteristics going to impact what they actually eat. So I liked that it used the model. I liked that it had that theoretical framework. It was a little bit more qualitative in nature than some of the other studies that we looked at, but it was overall pretty good. They used a survey design that they administered to the college baseball players, and they used regression analysis to try and predict, based on the intrapersonal variable, the independent factor, how is that going to predict what they eat. So yeah, things like attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral controls, which I think are all sort of relevant to our studies, which is looking at motivation, were all used to predict what people would eat. And they actually found that those 3 things, attitudes, subjective norms, and behavioral controls, accounted for about 75% of the variation in actual behavioral intention to eat a healthy diet. So pretty good, pretty relevant to our study. I liked this one quite a bit. The last journal article that I identified on my own was another one called "Motivation for Diet and Exercise Management Among Adults with Type 2 Diabetes." And as we know, eating the right things, exercising are both critically important for individuals that have type 2, adult onset diabetes. So what this study did is it used a cross-sectional design, sort of like we're doing, to look at important extrinsic and also intrinsic factors that might affect people's dietary choices and decisions of whether to exercise, when to exercise. Are they actually going to manage their diabetes correctly? So they actually found in this study that lack of motivation is one of the key determinants of people failing to adhere to their type 2 diabetes treatment regime. So people that are not motivated to exercise, are not motivated to eat well, and are not motivated to actually manage their diabetes properly are not going to. So that actually is pretty relevant to what we're doing, because people that, as we found in my fake statistical walkthrough, right, my hypothetical example, people that have a low level of motivation to diet are not going to diet. So this study was probably the most relevant. They used, as I made that questionnaire that is probably not that good, I used I kind of looked at this one because they actually had, let me try and find it. They actually had a questionnaire that they administered, it's a standard questionnaire called it's like the Diabetes Motivation Management Questionnaire or something like that. and it's pretty well known, but it didn't quite, here I found it. It didn't quite line up to what we wanted to measure, so I couldn't just copy it or anything. But it said things. It analyzed dietability expectations with questions like, I think I'm able to adjust my diet when I'm away from home. For diabetics, I think I'm able to follow my diet when I'm away from home. I think I'm able to follow my diet when I'm on vacation. Exercising ability expectations, I think I'm able to get sufficient physical activities, for example, taking a walk or biking. And they also looked at how people view exercise and diets. Do they view it negatively, positively, with questions like, the recommended diet will help me avoid long-term complications. So not quite exactly what we did with our study, but it definitely informed our approach to creating the questionnaire and to creating the study. So those are my 3 research articles that I identified for the literature review. I guess this is the last video I'm going to do. Now I have to figure out how the heck to get these online or somewhere. So that's probably going to take me an hour because I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, see you guys soon. Thanks, Dr. Bowden, for letting me do this. I appreciate it. And good luck, everybody. Bye.